Hello and welcome into the Women's Golf Weekly Podcast. I'm Jesse Morrison alongside Max Bechtoldt. And yes, this is the same podcast we've had, but we have a new name. We are no longer the For All podcast. We are the Women's Golf Weekly Podcast. Max, can you kind of just explain, a little bit why we've been off for a while and then why we now have a new name?
Yeah. So the whole site, I think if you've gone onto it, the old link still redirects you to the new one, so you shouldn't get lost too much with it. But we've kind of in the last couple of years, we got off to a good start with the site, but I think we wanted to take it kind of to the next level, and an opportunity presented itself for us to kind of create a new brand, a new whole reputation for the site. And so we've gone in over the last few weeks, really made a lot of changes. I think if you look at the site, you can tell those changes. There's some refreshed, better content, but also there's leaderboards now, standings on there. It's kind of, we're building a one-stop shop for all women's golf coverage, especially the LPGA, but we're getting a little bit more worldwide with it as well. And so, yeah, over the last few weeks, we've been really plugging at it. Like, we started this process in early 2026, and it's really been, the last 3 months of work. But I think we're getting into a really great place and at a point where we're ready to reboot a lot of our things, including our podcast.
Yeah, so we are now the Women's Golf Weekly Podcast. That's what we're going forward. But we're the same show that we've always been. Just we've been off for a little bit. Now we're back, but we've had a lot happen since we've been back. Since we've been gone, we're not gonna go through every single tournament, everything that's happened, but we're gonna cover kind of the last 3 or 4 weeks of the LPGA schedule, starting with this past week in Vegas, Aramco Championship, and Lauren Coughlin won 7 under, her third win overall, first since 2024. She was the only one that really shot, a relatively low score. It was U.S. Open conditions out there.
Yeah, it definitely was. Shadow Creek is a brutally difficult golf course. I can talk about that from experience. I have played Shadow Creek. It's tough. It's long. If you miss the fairways, it's almost impossible. Greens are big and they're sloped, and they can really create a lot of problems. Lauren Coughlin, I definitely think the number is misleading both in a positive and negative way for Coughlin, because she thoroughly dominated this. Like, it felt like she won by more than 5 strokes. But also a big reason why she was able to is she was able to just play it safe, go for pars. You can make a bogey or two. She didn't have to really go for things. And I think a lot of other players got themselves into trouble because on Sunday they were playing a little over aggressively. And so, yeah, I mean, she was the only one to shoot better than 2 under. That certainly is US Open conditions. And that is not just regular US Open conditions. Those are tough US Open conditions, those scores are. And basically everybody else made big mistakes. Coughlin didn't make many mistakes really all week. She didn't make a single double bogey, which is crazy when you watch the tournament. It's like there was double bogeys all around. 117 putts, that's keeping it under 30 per round. That's pretty good out there on Shadow Creek. And she was just hitting a good amount of greens, good amount of fairways, wasn't making the mistakes, and that's what led to the win.
And it definitely helps that she jumped out to, 8 under after 2 rounds, and she was just kind of, as you mentioned, just able to.
She could kind of cruise in.
She could cruise. She was 1 over on Saturday,
and that's what made it really feel like a major, is because that's what a lot of times you see in majors is you see somebody on Friday get out to a 2 or 3 stroke lead and then just maintain that. Don't go for too many things. Don't make a lot of mistakes. Just keep on making a lot of pars.
Yeah, so going down this leaderboard, there were only 3 other players in this tournament who were under par. Lena McGuire, Nelly Korda, who's been playing well, we'll get into her in a bit, and Miyu Yamashita was 1 under. So only 4 players in this entire field that were under par. But I mean, shout out Lauren Coughlin, $600,000 for this win. That's a really big number there, and um, it's good to see her get back into the leaderboard for the first time in a bit.
Absolutely. Definitely, I think the biggest win of her career. And that includes her first, which I know it's always tough to get that first win, but this was a huge win. Top 20 players in the world were all in the field here. This feels like a major in a lot of different ways. And hopefully, this will prepare her going into the major season. We have a really condensed major season, and it's starting just in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So maybe this will give her some momentum to really play well in those big time events.
So now let's move on to Nelly Korda, and she has been playing really well. I'm gonna say that she's been playing better than last year
Absolutely.
for sure, but the wins still haven't really been coming. And the Ford Championship out here in Arizona, where you were out there, Max.
Hmm.
I was supposed to be out there, and then I came down with an illness, unfortunately, and wasn't able to make it. But uh, she missed a very easy putt toward the end there.
Yeah.
That was probably that could have changed things.
You could
Or
just repeat that for basically every event
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Should it's
So
the it's a stretch of missed opportunities for Nelly. Obviously, look, she's played in four events. She hasn't finished worse than second.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy and ridiculous. We just need to start with that. I mean, when you just look, she leads in strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained approach, and strokes gained around the green. I mean, you're gonna play good golf when you do those three
yeah.
things. The putter has really gone cold over the last couple of weeks. She was putting really well over her first, kind of two events, and then it kind of disappeared a little bit after that. Really started to struggle on the back nine at Fortinet on Sunday. Struggled in Arizona a little bit. Obviously, struggled a little bit this week with putter, but she's playing. I would argue some of the best golf of her career. I think Hyo Joo Kim, who we'll talk about in a minute, has been playing just absolutely out of her mind, just fantastic golf. And I think that's prevented Nelly from some of these wins. I think in normal times she would have at least two, maybe three wins so far this year. And I talked a lot about luck with Nelly Korda last year and how she had bad luck. I think she's had a lot of bad luck again this year, but I do think that'll turn. I think she just looks like she's in pristine form. Still hasn't missed a cut since 2024. Like, I think there's just a lot of good, encouraging things with her game. And even though her putting has struggled a little bit, and she's missing some of those short putts, which have always been one of the biggest issues in her game, I still think that putter stroke looks a lot better than it did last year. And
Yeah,
so I think that's going to lead to a lot of success this year.
yeah, and, going back to the Ford Championship, like it's pretty hard to ask someone to shoot better than 26 under for a tournament.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, I know that this wasn't it was very much contrasted.
Yeah, we had a couple of extremes here. Yeah.
Aramco, yeah, very much contrast to the Aramco.
But and I'll say that back nine on Sunday wreaked a lot of exhaustion.
Yeah,
She was a little sloppy with her irons. She was a little sloppy with her short game. It was hot out there. It was hot out there for a lot of days in a row. And I do think when you watched, I think she just got a little bit lost in the heat and the exhaustion and the 4 days. And now she's played three tournaments in a row. I know she's taking the Jam Eagle off, which I think is really essential for her. But I do think that some of these events, it can kind of be, you can kind of blame the exhaustion a little bit.
yeah. Sometimes I wish she would play a little bit more. I think it might help her to just play
I
more.
think there's arguments for both ways on
But
that.
yeah, like I don't know if I
Because she's,
would be taking off the Jam Eagle if I were her, but
I
I
think
trust you more on that.
I think in context with her having three runners up in a row, I think a couple weeks off will do her really good to reset.
Yeah,
She is one of the only players on the LPGA Tour who has the luxury of being able to take off events. A lot of players have to play almost every week because they're trying to earn a living. They're trying to get CME points. Nelly doesn't really have to worry about that. And so I do think it's good that she takes advantage of it. And she usually plays pretty well off a break. So I think she'll be ready to go at the Chevron again, and maybe get out there a few days early on the new course. So I do think that taking a week off will do her well.
all right, let's get to Hyo Joo Kim because early candidate for Player of the Year
Absolutely.
potentially. She wins the Founders Cup 16 under one stroke ahead of Nelly Korda. I mean, it's pretty great to be beating Nelly Korda in back-to-back events. Then she goes out there in Arizona, the Ford Championship, and she wins that one again over Nelly Korda. And what really stands out about this one is her round one and round three, where she both she scored 61 in each round. And the thing is, like when I was following that tournament, is I saw Lydia Ko. Oh, she shot a 60 in round one, so I was like, okay, this one's probably like you can just chalk it up to Lydia Ko's going to win. And then you look at, and then like immediately thereafter, it was like, oh no, Hyo Joo Kim shot a 61, and then you look at like Nelly in that tournament, 63 in the first round. So really, really low scores. In that tournament. But I mean, she was at the top of that with 261s. That's I don't care how easy a course is or whatever. Golf is really hard, and 261s is incredible. So yeah, I mean, early candidate for Player of the Year for sure. And she's just played incredible golf.
Yeah, and that Thursday out there at the Ford Championship was a lot of fun. It was you could kind of sense pretty early on that people were shooting really, really low, and that's always fun to watch, especially when some of the biggest stars on the tour, like Lydia, like Nelly, like Hyo Joo, I was actually going to get a better seat for a photo of Nelly. Actually, now we're going back to Nelly, but that's fine. I was going to get an extra or a good spot to get a photo of Nelly on the first tee, and she was making the turn on 18 the first day because she started on the back, and she holed out for eagle. And like a lot of the people had already started to gather on the first tee, and this just huge ovation started on 18, and everybody was like, "Who was it? Who was it?" And people were like, "Oh, it was Nelly." It was like, "Of course it was." But Hyo Joo has been just phenomenal. I mean, just talk about sticking to it under pressure. You got the biggest star in golf chasing you down, and when you go out there to a tournament, you really realize it that changes things a lot because Nelly commands a huge crowd around
Oh
her.
yeah, yeah,
Her crowds out there at the Ford were massive, and people don't think about some of the effects of that. Like if Nelly would putt in first and get in, all the crowds are starting to move while you're still putting. Like they're
yeah.
starting to get to the next hole. And so there's a lot of concentration that goes into playing with a big star like Nelly. And Hyo Joo played with her 6 rounds in a row, did it brilliantly. She's got a really balanced attack, not really dominating in anything. She's third in strokes gained approach, 10th in strokes gained around the green. She's top 25 in strokes gained putting, but not up there at the top. So it's not like she's dominating in any one way. She's just doing a lot of things really well, staying composed. Obviously, she started really well in Las Vegas, fell off a bit at the end, but still really impressed with how she's playing. Three top three finishes this year, 2 wins. Uh, you could almost argue that she could do not a lot else the rest of the year, and it'd be the best season of her career. And she's had a pretty good career. So,
Yeah.
yeah, this has been a great start for her.
Yeah, those were her eighth and ninth wins of her career, and she has a major in there as well. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Ramco Championship. She was tied for 13th, which is very respectable. I mean, +4 for that tournament was pretty good,
Yeah.
like compared to a lot of the other players out there. But I've been really impressed with her the past couple of years at the Ford Championship
Hmm.
because she's fended off really good players and won close tournaments in each of them. Like this was her second straight win. If you're just tuning in, like this is her second straight win at the Ford Championship after she won last year.
I think a lot of people forget she came in fifth last year for Player of the Year.
Yeah,
Like, I don't think a lot of people realize that she was playing phenomenal golf throughout the year last year.
yeah,
And so this is not a new thing. And, today I put up an article talking about Hall of Fame chances for a handful of players. And I was like, do I have to include Hyo Joo Kim? Because over the last 2 years, she's arguably playing the best golf of her career. And it's a game that should age really well. I'll be interested to see, what she does moving forward over the next year or two.
yeah. She's not young but she's not
I
exactly
think she's
old.
30,
I
I
think she's
believe.
30 exactly.
So,
So
just right kind of smack dab in the middle. If she was 34, I'd say she was a bit old. If she was 26, I'd be like, oh, she's still a great young player. So she's kind of right in the middle there.
yeah, so plenty of great golf ahead for her. All right. somebody that I don't know if she has plenty of great golf ahead of her is Nelly Korda's sister, Jessica. She's made her return to playing professionally more, and it's been a bit of a rough day.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of two ways to look at this. I do think at the Ford, I think she played pretty decently at the Ford. You know, coming off of not playing competitive golf for basically 2 years, coming and playing in the heat. I know they were easy conditions, but that has to be difficult when you've had injuries and pregnancy and have been a little bit out of commission. And so I'm actually a little bit more optimistic on it. I'm not going to say that she's got a really good future ahead of her. But I think that there's a path to her playing some good golf this year. She made the cut at the Aramco. Didn't play great over the weekend. Played pretty poorly over the weekend. But I actually think she's struggling in the more precise areas. She's struggling with her short game, struggling on approach, but she's driving the ball very well. Still getting good distance out there. Her attitude out on the course seems great. She got to play in her first tournament with good friend Austin Ernst. She got to play in the Aramco with Nelly. And so I think it's been a really positive return for her. And I'll be interested to see moving forward what kind of schedule she plays and if she can start to improve on these results a little
Yeah,
bit.
and obviously, again, she hasn't played a lot of competitive golf recently, so I'm gonna give her grace, and she can,
It takes time.
yeah, she can definitely still, get back into, contending again if, with more practice. I mean, golf, it's all about practice. So,
I mean, I'm going to be straight up and honest here. I was skeptical we'd ever really see her back on the LPGA
yeah,
tour playing at least a realistic schedule. Now, I don't know what kind of schedule we're going to see her play. She might play three more events this season and not really do much. But it's good to see her out there getting some starts. I was really excited when that email came in to the media about the field and Jessica Korda was in it. I was like, yes, that's fun. That's a good thing. Let's see what happens here. And so there's a lot of players who kind of have gone through pregnancy, having a child, haven't really come back to the tour, have done other things. She's dipped her toe into announcing, so I wasn't sure if she was kind of going to go back to that kind of more in a full-time way. So it's good to see her giving the LPGA tour a go again.
all right. The Augusta National Women's Amateur was last weekend.
Yep.
I got my dates right. I'm proud of myself. Did math. Look at me. Uh, it's always the week before the
Yep,
Masters.
it's kind of the kickoff to Masters
We have
week.
kickoff to Masters week. And obviously, before we leave, let's definitely pick the Masters.
Yeah, yeah,
Before
we'll pick the Masters.
we got to pick them. The one tournament that we cover men's golf wise on this podcast is the Masters. So we will definitely talk a little bit about the Masters before we get off. But U.S. National Women's Amateur, Maria Jose Marin, she wins 14 under, really impressive score there. What were your kind of biggest takeaways from this tournament, Max?
This tournament always delivers. This was the second largest margin of victory in this tournament's history, or I think tied for the largest. And it was still an amazing event. Like it was still filled with drama. It was still filled with high stakes. I mean, I think this is going to sound a little bit degrading to amateurs, but they're amateurs. They're not professionals. And I think seeing them out on a course that has this many, not sand traps, but like traps just generally of where you can mess up, where you can make a mistake, and the drama and the pressure that comes with it, I think putting amateurs under that scope is really, really fascinating. Like, and this kind of leads us right into the asterisk tally of it all. Obviously, asterisk tally is, I think, I don't think many people would argue she's the future of the sport. I just think straight up, she's the future of the sport. She's the next big American star. She's going to go play at Stanford, but after that, she has a long LPGA Tour career ahead of her. But she completely and totally cracked under the pressure on hole 12. She went into it with a lead, made a seven on the hole on a par three, made a seven, and
Happens.
just completely fell under the pressure, was making bad mistakes, was making bad swings. And I think putting these young 17-year-olds in Asterisk Tally's case under that kind of pressure leads to really fascinating and dramatic results. And I think that's what the Augusta National Women's Amateur has proven time and time again.
Yeah, I think it's a really good test for players too. Like, how are you going to deal with that pressure? How are you going to deal with playing at Augusta National? I mean, it's probably the most
Yeah, it's certainly in America. It's the
it's
most
yeah,
famous
it's
course.
probably that and St. Andrews,
Yes, I would say those
the
are
two
the two.
most famous golf courses in the world. So,
Yep.
I think it's a good test. Now, I want to take this in a little bit of a different route, though, with this. I think they've got to put the U.S. Women's Open at Augusta National.
Oh, 100%.
And
They have to get the woman the best LPGA players they have to get on Augusta National. Now, the thing is we're getting to the point where a lot of the LPGA players have played in this event. So, like we're starting to get to that point where a lot of those players have aged into it. But someone like Nelly Korda has never played it in competition. I want to see what Nelly Korda does on Augusta National. I want to see what Gino Tidekun does on Augusta National. I want to see what these players do out there. And so I totally and completely agree. And it'd be so good for the sport. I mean, they got big ratings when they went to Pebble Beach. They got big ratings when they went to St. Andrews. I can't imagine what the ratings would be like if they
yeah,
went to
I think it
Augusta.
would be the biggest women's golf tournament of all time if
Yes,
they went
I
to
completely
and
agree.
they played the U.S. Women's Open at Augusta National. Now, the I wonder if Augusta National would want to make their course into a U.S. Open course. You might,
I think it almost naturally is, though.
yeah, it's a pretty hard. Like, people don't understand
Yeah,
how
I
hard
think you.
Augusta is.
I think the scores, if you put it in the right conditions, I think 8 under would win it at a
Okay,
U.S. Women's Open, which is a decent number. That's what it was won at, I believe, at Aaron Hills. So that's a decent number.
yeah, you could also do a different major there.
Whatever, yeah,
Women's PGA, like
whichever
that.
one you want to do.
That would
Heck, I don't even know what the future of the Chevron is with where it goes and what it is for the future. So you can put it there. I mean,
be.
they might have to go out to 12 to do the jump into the water, but
Yeah, and I don't know if they would do. I don't know if they would want Augusta National to have a. I don't think they would want the sponsorship tournament there. To
so
be completely honest with you.
I don't disagree with that. They'd have to take it over. But another thing that I will say about the Augusta National Women's Amateur, and this is an off the course kind of thing as well, green jacket. Come on.
Yeah,
Give
yeah,
them a green jacket.
yeah.
I know it's a symbol of membership, it's a symbol of whatever, and that doesn't really apply to the amateur events. But come on, we need a green jacket out here for
Green
these
jacket.
players.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
I agree.
just a little thing on Maria Jose Marino. We talked about the pressure and players cracking under it or rising to it. I think she really rose in the face of the pressure. I think she was really consistent. I think she didn't let it get in her head. She's played in this event 4 times before. I think her putting was fantastic all tournaments. And at Augusta, putting really obviously is a big deal. And I think it was a super impressive win. She now has both the Division 1 national championship individually and the Augusta National Women's Amateur. She joined some pretty good company there with Jennifer Kupcho and Rose Zhang, who are obviously both multiple time winners on the LPGA Tour. So it'll be interesting to see her going forward here.
Wow. Before we go, Max, what is on the site and and how should people be accessing the site these days? What is the new link for the site?
So there's so much on the site. You can access it at wgdnews.com. That's wgdnews.com. Ton of stuff on there. Go look at it during a tournament. It's updating live leaderboard. There's also player stats over the last couple of years on there. There's a lot more betting odds on there and what to do with that. There's standings, there's schedules for every single tour. That includes the Legends Tour, the LET, Amateur, College, all of that.
Nice.
There's so much stuff programmed in there. There's so much you can get to. Like I said, trying to make it kind of one-stop shop for all LPGA kind of news and women's golf news. And I think it's getting to that point. So go check it out.
And real quick, no LPGA event this week.
Yep.
Masters. Who you got in Masters?
I'm going to take Chris Gotterup. Chris Gotterup's had a good couple of years here. It's his Masters debut. I like his game. I don't watch the PGA Tour a whole ton, especially compared to the LPGA. I watch a lot of LPGA golf, so in my free time, I don't watch a lot of golf. But I like Chris Gotterup, and I like what he's doing out there. Should have made the Ryder Cup team last year.
I'm gonna go Scotty. I got to go with Scotty. I don't know if he's going to go back-to-back years without winning the Masters. So
Hey, I like the Scott.
Scotty's
I'll
definitely.
never pick against Scotty.
Yeah, that's my pick. And yeah, we will see you all next week. We'll be previewing Max's going out to the JM Eagles, so we will be previewing that. That'll be super exciting to have Max out there. And yeah, we'll talk to you next week.